Jesus, the author and finisher of my faith. I arise to establish my legal right and dominion over this region and over every territory which you have given me jurisdictional authority. According to Daniel 9:4, you are the only great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love you and to them that keep your commandments. I appeal to the God who said in 2 Chronicles 7:13-16, if I shut up heaven that there be no rain, if I command the locusts to devour the land, or if I send pestilence amongst my people, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin.
Nkrumah, gone. Patrice Lumumba, gone. Thomas Sankara, gone. Julius Nyerere, gone. Jomo Kenyatta, gone. Samora Machel, gone. Steve Biko, gone. Samora Machel, gone. Steve Biko, gone. Haile Selassie, gone. Nelson Mandela, gone. Amilcar Cabral, gone. Africa, protect Traore, let no shadow steal his glory. From the Nile to Soweto, we mourn and pray, don't take another prophet away. Africa, protect Traore, protect, protect, protect. It's our only message from Haiti to Accra, we still say gone, gone.
Keeping It Real is an interactive radio program heard only on Nice Radio. Join your host, Joel Abraham, every Friday as we discuss important issues affecting our society from 8 to 10:30 p.m. For persons living outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you can still listen to us on Nice Radio's website, www.niceradio.info, or you can email us at bdsnice@gmail.com, or simply give us a call at 784-456-5967. Remember, it's Keeping It Real, the interactive talk show program heard each and every Friday only on Nice Radio.
Every person who gets chopped up and die or shot, that I must go and make a statement on radio. On it, why is Ralph talking about this thing? Why not the police? The police talk, they say, well, Ralph not talking. I've spoken over and over about this situation and the plan that we have and which we are following, dealing with criminal activity, dealing with the issue of guns, a complicated issue, complicated motivations by persons, strengthening the police force, strengthening the legal system, the laws. Look, it's a year and a half ago, we went to Parliament and strengthened the gun laws. We strengthened the criminal justice system, strengthened the magistracy, strengthened the judiciary, put more resources, more training. Look, we're doing all of this thing, but you have to watch your behavior, and you have to behave in solidarity and stay away from criminality, from greed, from the violence associated with gun activity, and a host of the behavioral problems that we have arise from the breakdown of the family structure, lack of proper parenting, sometimes reinforced by some problems where some teachers are not pulling their weight as they should. The vast majority of teachers, of course, pulling their weight. But if you have 7 years in a primary school and along the way meet two bad teachers, and bad defined through a number of matrices, you've got problems. Unless the family and the church is there to hold you in the community. So, but I'm not, and I cannot be responsible for the behavioral problems of individuals.
When the NDP came to power, you had no prosecutions for cocaine. In fact, in 1986, Randolph Hussein Commissioner of Police said, there's no cocaine problem. We see what the situation is like now. There are a lot of cocaine jumbies, cocaine mules, and so on and so forth. And all this thing has happened on the watch of Randolph Hussein as Commissioner of Police and James Mitchell as Minister of National Security. So that when you call James Mitchell name, when you call Toussaint name, you associate them in historical terms with the tremendous growth of cocaine and drugs in this country, in the sense that they have the responsibility to stop the drug coming in. If they do not stop the cocaine coming in, it has to be their fault, because they're in charge of the security arrangements so to do. And one of the first responsibilities of any serious government is to provide proper security for its citizens.
When somebody says it's Ralph, that is Ralph's fault, how does it become my fault? And they will throw in my face, as I've heard certain comments that when I was in the opposition, I said that Toussaint and Mitchell responsible for the crime. I never said that. What I would have said, not that it matters, what I would have said is that you didn't have the police force sufficiently resourced. You didn't have it sufficiently modernized. And that is something which we need to look at. And that there were some problems which had to be dealt with of a legal nature. So you take, let me explain to some of the things.
I want to ask you to that point. Is the police force sufficiently resourced and modernized today? We still have, you go to a police station, they're using big old books to look for, types of people.
Yes. Well, it's far better resourced than before. And we need on an ongoing basis to be doing more and better in respect of the technologies and equipment.
I'm a recovering abused child of Christianity. I'm recovering from the white nonsense that had been pumped into my head from 0 to 52. Waiting and hoping for this white guy to come and assist me. How do you sell me such a horrible thing all my life? And in the morning when I wake up and I say, I have had enough of this junk. No, you can't be saying that. You can't be talking like that because you're being insensitive. No. Allow me, if I want to cry, let me cry. If I want to scream, let me scream. If you think I've lost my head and I've lost my mind, it's none of your business. Allow me to recover the way I want to recover. Even if I want to walk away from Christianity, it's none of your business. Why are you angry? Because you want to become a groupie. Oh, he is still with us. He is still with us. We're still with you where? Still with you where? When I'm with you, what difference does it make? I want to conclude by saying, I'm not saying leave Christianity. I'm not saying leave Islam. I'm saying all the instruments of religious meeting places must be converted into instruments of changing and transforming the society. We need, therefore, to deconstruct God, decolonize him. We need, therefore, to deconstruct and decolonize humanity, deconstruct Christianity, deconstruct the Christ Messiah himself, deconstruct ecclesiology, church itself, deconstruct ecclesiology and eschatology. Stop selling people things that are in the heavens because you have failed to make them relevant on earth. Teach people to work. The Bible says, occupy till I come. Work and labor. We cannot teach escapism, where people are waiting for the clouds to open and they disappear to heaven. And by the way, many people want to go to heaven. They don't want to go to heaven because they are saved. By our Lord, too much debt. So they want to go disappear to heaven and they don't want to pay things that are here. Then I remember the other song by the other guy. When you get to heaven, you find the devil waiting for you. And when you're not going in, one colored. Let's go backwards. You cannot run away from earth because of debt. All no man, nothing except love. We've been given land, we've been given crops, we've been given life. Let us make the best of what we have right now. Let heaven and theology be actually the blessing of a fruitful life in the now. Then we can also wait for the second coming of Jesus with beautiful cars, with beautiful homes, looking nice also. Why must we be singing the song, take the world, but give me Jesus? You give away land and you receive Jesus. Hey, I don't want the Jesus. I want the land also and the Jesus.
Good night, siblings and grenadines. Keeping It Real is on the air once again. It's Friday, the 30th of May, the last Friday in the month of May. The 5th month of the year is soon be gone. And then we will be into the middle of the year, which is June. But we still have another day to go before June is begin. So wherever you may be, every nook and cranny in the crab hole, foxhole, rat hole, or wherever the water hole you may be, having your sipping back your beer and eating your roast pork or roast chicken, or what barbecue one, whatever, drinking your white rum or your Campari, while you're sipping and enjoying your weekend. Keeping It Real is on the air. So, as the saying goes, there's never ever a dull moment in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I will add a new hint for you tonight. Read, and continue reading. It will increase your ability to analyze, understand, and whereby you could contrast and compare what you are hearing. Because sometimes when you hear something, it goes in and it quickly disappears. But when you read it and establish it into your mind, and you diagnose and analyze it, you will then see fiction from facts, truth from lie, and then you can make a concise decision as to what you should do. But if you're not reading to increase your knowledge, and knowledge is power, and power gives you control over your thought and not what people impose on you. So, read until it hurts and continue reading, and read every and anything that is available to you. Read the Bible, read the Quran, read the newspaper, read what the pamphlet, advertisement, a book, but make it your business that every day you read something, and you would see how far it open up your wisdom and your vision of what is happening in and around you. So, whatever medium you may be using to get this program, whether it be social medium, AI, Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp, or whatever airwave that is coming to. Keeping It Real is on the air. Remember, it's an interactive program. And when the lines are open, all we asking you to be civil, humble, and be real with what you're saying, nothing libelous, scandalous, or mongering. that may bring the radio station into disrepute, and also you and us, the host of this program, Keeping It Real. So, exhale all of the bad enzymes and carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and all the oxide that is not right for you out of your system, and take a deep inhalation of oxygen that will free up your thoughts, mind, and spirit, that you could be able to accept what is being fed to you through the airwaves of this station. Keeping It Real is here. So now it is very interesting time in this country. While we are getting close to the time for election, it is also coming close to the end of term, where you would have those children going into school from the kindergarten, preschool, into primary school, and you have those who will be leaving the primary school into secondary school, and then we have those who will be leaving the secondary school into community college, universities, and whatever tertiary institution they may be, or technical institution they may be going to, whether home or abroad. And also, some would be joining the workforce, while many would be out there twiddling their thumbs and wondering what is their next move in life. Hope it won't be many of those joining the sad situation that are facing middle-aged and young people in this country that can't find proper employment for the skills that they have. And even though they have ideas based on who they align with state whether or not they get finance or help in making their dreams come true. Then also, it could be a hue and cry for a lot of people in terms of exercise books and books and clothing and it's all for those who would be going back to school. But as how it is, people are resilient and they find ways and means to ensure that their children or their wards are well equipped for the beginning of the new school term. But besides the new school term, there's a long summer break ahead of us. In some situations it's 8 weeks, in some it's 10. And we need to find places and activities to occupy the young mind in a positive way. I could recall when I was working in various community that I worked in, I would hold a summer program through my initiative to teach about the environment, to teach about life in general, and to respect of for the environment and for the soft skills, and make people appreciate one another, to try to get over a lot of divisiveness that is in this country that has been spread by the politicians. And remember, I said politicians. I ain't saying NDP, I ain't saying Labour, I ain't saying Green Party, I ain't saying the Bicycle Party or what. A lot of nonsense and divisiveness has been spread over the years by these persons who we look up to for proper guidance for their own selfish ways and not about country. And we're hoping that things could start changing, because you've seen a glimpse of hopes along the tunnel, and we have to keep walking towards that light that we're seeing along the tunnel, so that when we get to the end of the tunnel, the light that we saw coming through would be bright and bold for a happier time for this country. Now, I listened to the Prime Minister on the radio, and he was talking about crime and plans for crime and how to address crime and all sorts of horrible. But I could recall earlier when you were in opposition, he blamed the then government for the rise in certain activities that lead to crime. But now, the table turn and the situation is even worse than when the opposition were in office. But he is trying to push the blame away. It's not him. We all know it has to take the entire community to address crime overall. The police alone can't do it. The public alone can't do it. The politicians alone can't do it. But we have to come together in unison. But when some feel if they be all inclusive, others would get glory and fame for some activities, and you don't want it to look that way, because we want all the glory, we want all the praises. And knowing it fully well, all the praises is not ours. And until we understand this and come together and work together, you come with an idea, I have an idea, and we marry them together and we walk along, and things can happen. But when you don't want to use my idea because you're fearful that, okay, some praise or glory would have to come to me, and some mention of me will have to be made, it can't work. So then, how then a house that is divided can stand? And I will go one further. We all say we serve one God. We say we all are Christians. But then, how come there are so many denominations, religion, sect, or whatever we may want to call it, say that they are Christian, they are carrying the order of Christ. But lo and behold, it is more divisive than in the days of Babylon and the Tower of Babel that was being built. Yeah. Pentecostal don't like evangelical. Evangelical don't like 7 days. 7 days see everybody else is worshiping wrongly, and they are not true Christians. And it goes on. And I wonder, is it about how you worship or what you worship, or is it that we can't see the commonality and work towards the commonality? And the difference is we leave it there because it only would bring more divisiveness than unison. So if I'm a Sunday worship and you is a Saturday worship or the Sabbath, and the Bible talk about the Sabbath, but then the question does we ask, Was man made for the Sabbath or the Sabbath for man? And which day is reckoned as the Sabbath? And which day is the first? And all these questions will continue asking. But while we're asking this question, the sole thing that we ought to be looking at is how we look on with fellow man, how we treat with fellow man. Is it with love? Is it with care, concern? Or with disdain, arrogance, ignorance, hatred, bigotry? Then how could we, as human, want to follow Christ? I have been traveling widely, and it's the most road walk I've seen in my entire life being done. When I watch some of the works and how it is being done, I know once the rainy season starts, it will be worse than what it is at present. And I want to know why we just wait until this last moment to how we hustle things, and knowing that it will not settle proper, it will not be done in a proper and right way. So it could last for a longer period. I will not want this set of maintenance as ought to be done. And is it just to please people to win votes and not doing things that it ought to be done rightly? And some guys came to me and they said that they want to get involved in the gifting. So I asked them what they're gonna do. They say got a whole sort of bush by the roadside and it coming into the trail that they're walking on. So I say, how old are you? That's why I said, because they have an age limitation. They say between the age of 19 and 35. So they asked me if I could be the mentor. I said, yeah, I can be your mentor. I could guide you along certain process, but you have to go and get the form and fill it out and get back to me. Then some came with the idea that, okay, school gonna be closing up and you don't mind take it on to coach some students who would be around in running and soccer. I say, but we have a lot of students who have studied sports in school, both at the community college and the secondary school. So I think you ought to get in contact with those because they would be within the age group and I'm saying. And I hope they are on the work on that. Because it's a nice thinking, because I have mentioned earlier in my starting about the long summer breaks and them sort of things, and what I used to do. I wouldn't mind walking along with some group in ensuring that what we are doing also would lead back to numeracy and literacy. Because a lot of students are not up to the level in reading, and they are slow when it comes to maths. Some of them don't understand and don't know the tables and those sort of things, and there's no emphasis on that anymore. I remember when I was young, that was one of the main things that was drilled into us, understand, knowing your tables, multiplication and division, and then you would get into the rudiment of the other aspect. And I think the old method, to me, has always been successful as compared to the new maths and the new way, where the children can readily grasp it. So I think while we also will be having fun, teaching them how to cook and whatever, so they could get these basic skills under them. We also need to get a bit of numeracy and literacy into the program. So I will hold for now, and then I have some other things to come back with later.
Keeping It Real is an interactive radio program heard only on Nice Radio. Join your host, Joel Abraham, every Friday as we discuss important issues affecting our society from 8 to 10:30 p.m. For persons living outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you can still listen to us on Nice Radio's website, www.niceradio.info, or you can email us at bdsnice@gmail.com, or simply give us a call at 784-456-5967. Remember, it's Keeping It Real, the interactive talk show program heard each and every Friday only on Nice Radio.
Opposition parties are saying, I want to work with you in dealing with crime. Don't believe that at all. The opposition parties are interested in the following things: to oppose, to expose, and to depose constitutionally. They don't have anything to propose. I haven't heard any of them proposing anything. And they
pleasant good night to all in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and those who are listening abroad. Yes, Keeping It Real right here. Like I promised that on Fridays, once we're here, I will look at a portion of the electoral laws and highlight a particular section of the electoral laws. So tonight, I'm going to highlight to you on election day what happens on election. I'm going to indicate something that not in the election laws also, but I believe that each agent of political party should follow. Like I indicated, it's not a part of the election laws, but I'm going to deal with that first before I deal with the close of the ballot box. I am of the opinion that each agent of the political parties, once you enter the polling station, the returning officer already presented the ballot box and the ballot to the presiding officer. You as an agent ought to ask the presiding officer exactly the amount of ballot paper she or he received, and keep a note of that, the amount of ballot paper he or she received. And at the end of the polling day, you ought to do a tabulation after the counting of the ballot, but I will deal with that at a later time in more details. So I'm reading from the Electoral Laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that is the Representation of the People Act, and I'm reading the House of Assembly election rules, and I'm reading section 28, the close of the ballot box. I know over the last election, I think it's from 2009, we moved from the regular ballot box and we have what I call all around the bread boxes. So we had the husband staple and the lock, literal lock, where you had to lock with a key and place the keys in an envelope. But we moved to the bins and the tie strap. But the law remained the same, and I will tell you why I deal with this part tonight. So the close of the ballot boxes immediately before the commencement of the poll, and the poll open at 7. The presiding officer shall show the ballot box to such persons. And you underline that such persons because in some polling station, the presiding officer sometimes close the doors, and they only show the ballot boxes to the agent inside of the polling station. They don't have to do that, and they can show it to other persons who are there who are going to cast the vote also. But some presiding officer doesn't know that or doesn't want to do it. So immediately before the commencement of the poll, the presiding officer shall show the ballot box empty to such person. If any as are present in the polling station, so that they may see that it is empty and shall then be locked. So the presiding officer cannot decide that the box is going to remain closed and call the first voter to cast the X. The presiding officer must open the box, must indicate to the presiding officer, and in some cases other persons there, that the ballot box is empty, and then locked the ballot box. Like I indicated to you, prior to 2009, they had an envelope where the key used to be placed in that envelope and on the desk in full view of everyone. But after 2009, that has changed. I don't know if the law has changed, but that particular provision has changed. And shall place it in full view of all present for the receipt of the ballot paper, and keep it so locked until the close of the poll. And I must indicate to you that you have a stipulated time, let us say from 7 to 5. But once the time reach, the allotted time, then the police officer at that polling station, he will go, or he ought to, stand behind the last person in the line up to 5 o'clock. So you may find in some polling station that the poll go on a little longer, because once the person is in the queue or in the line, he or she must given the opportunity to vote once he or she is there before 5. So I want you to underline that. So no police officer can tell you done 5 o'clock and close the door on you. He must stand behind the last person in the queue. And he should or ought to be instructed by the presiding officer to so do when 5 o'clock on her clock. So immediately after the ballot box is so locked, the presiding officer shall call upon the voter to vote. So the first person in the line, the presiding officer will call on that individual to cast the X. The presiding officer shall facilitate and regulate the admittance of every voter into the polling station and shall see that they are not impeded or molested at or about the polling station. You know, sometimes in some areas you have people for the political party, the agents, maybe campaigning still and harassing person as to who to vote for. That is against the law, and they ought not to do it, and the presiding officer can instruct the police to deal with the individual or individuals. The presiding officer shall facilitate and regulate the admittance of every identification card and question to be put to the voters. You know, in some polling station that I have worked, the presiding officer doesn't always follow the law. And that may cause some contention with some agents for a political party because the law ought to be followed. So the presiding officer at the time any person apply for a ballot paper, but not afterwards. A, may, and if required by a candidate of his or his polling agent, shall put to that person the following question or either of them. Are you the person registered in the register of voters for this polling station and read the whole entry from the registry? Have you already voted here or elsewhere at the elections, at this election, and shall request the person to produce his identification card, shall ensure that there does not appear on any of the digits of a candidate any mark of electoral ink. So what it's basically saying is that the presiding officer can inspect your finger to make sure that no ink is on your fingers, indicating that you will have voted before. I know some persons have found a way around that, and I wouldn't indicate you what they put their hand in, but they put their hand in a particular liquid, and immediately the ink is removed. So it like they would have never voted. So that again can create some kind of issue because person understand certain thing that can remove the ink from your hand almost immediately. Shall ensure that there does not appear any of the digits the candidate any marked on electoral ink on his finger already. So I will stay there for tonight. So what the presiding officer normally they take your identification card, they call out the number of your identification card. So allowed, well, sometimes the clerk does that, but the agents, because they will have a list too, so they will follow on their list whether or not your name is on the registration list in that polling station. And I tell you why I deal with that tonight. We could remember in 2011 when we were promised that the RPA was going to be amended because all of us agree that the RPA ought to be amended because some things in the RPA not relevant, in my opinion, for today. So we had that issue in 2011 with the election petition and a number. Yes, in the election petition and a number well, the election petition of 2011 and some issues coming out of that. I was going to deal with the particular issue, but I will leave that. And then we had the suggestion that we look at the RP, and I'm going to read to you from the Hansard, Tuesday, the 5th of April, 2011. Honorable Speaker, Dr. Gonzalo Gonza, Mr. Speaker, there is another bill which is before Select Committee, the Representation of the People Act bill. We had one meeting already, and the next meeting is scheduled for the 5th of May. The member of the government side of that Select Committee plus the Attorney General attended, and we invited other groups. The President of the Bar Association, Ms. Kibacus Brown, Mr. Pierre Campbell-Cussy, a distinguished lawyer who has written extensively on this bill, and Mr. Godfrey Samuel, the chair of the Christian Council, attended. And Mr. Speaker, the decision which was taken was for us to look in response to what a number of persons has said publicly, including Mr. Campbell, that rather than concentrate on two or more sections of the bill, to do an overhaul. Look at the Representation of the People Act in its entirety, and everyone has agreed on this, including the President of the Bar Association, the Christian Council, and I said Mr. Pierre Campbell himself. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker, the Christian Council has written asking that we put the bill on hold for them to have an independent study. Mr. Speaker, I have no objection at all, and I hope that that independent study take into account a view of the entire Representation of the People Act. We'll have the Select Committee meeting as planned on the 5th, but I doubt whether the Christian Council will be ready by then. And we'll hear, hopefully before then, how much time they wish to have for the extension for their consideration. Mr. Speaker, I want to make the point again that the bill does not in any way affect adversely the action which are being taken in the law court. Absolutely not. This bill is not retrospective in its effect, and that untruth is being parroted in the newspaper. I saw it in the news editorial last week, and I heard it on radio. It is just not true, as Mr. Campbell himself had made plain. Mr. Speaker, our putting the bill on hold at the request of the Christian Council will also give the lie to those who wish to say we want to pass it quickly to deal with the case which are before the court. That is just not true. It has nothing to do with that. It has no legal effect on that. None whatsoever. So my report on the Select Committee, Mr. Speaker, is that the work continues in the context in which I have mentioned. So here what? 2011, it was before the Select Committee, and the Parliament went until 2015, and nothing happened in relation to the RPA in terms of overhauled and amending it, the entire act. Then we had a new sitting of a parliament in 2015 to 2020, and nothing happened. And that cycle, electoral cycle, passed. 2020 to 2015, another 2020 to 2025, sorry, another electoral cycle about to pass, and nothing in relation to looking at the RPA in its entirety. one of the things we suggested here, and person has suggested over the years, is to have electoral commission instead of electoral election officer. So we had that issue going on for years, and nothing in relation to what we were promised from 2011, and yet into another election, we have that issue. Let me just deal with one more thing, and I may rest early. Somebody sent an article for me on, I think it's Tuesday, and they told me it was written by either written or published by the late Mother Cupid in relation to the Spiritual Baptist movement. I sent it to a particular individual, and I get a different story, but I will get into that later on. To all who, and I'm reading the article that it is, and to all who were fooled by St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Christopher Columbus, Ralph Gonsalves, into believing he freed the Shaker, Baptists, here are the facts. The truth is, in 1912, the colonial government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines passed the Shaker Prohibition Law. The law banned members of the Shaker Baptist, aka the Spiritual Baptist, from worshiping as they did. It was unlawful. At this time, the Shaker were arrested, charged, and prosecuted for worship of God by the white government from 1912 to 1948. The Shaker were persecuted without anyone to represent them. In 1948, a young rebel lawyer by the name of Milton Cato appeared in court and represent 25 Shaker who were being persecuted. It was the first time Shaker were ever had any legal representation in a case. 17 years later, in 1965, E.T. Joshua was the head of the government. He was the chief minister of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Wait, let me read over that. 70 years later, in 1965, E.T. Joshua was the head of the government. He was the chief minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Lawyer Milton Cato was the leader of the opposition in St. Vincent. In 1965, Chief Minister Joshua presented a bill. The St. Vincent Legislative Council to repeal or to do away with the 1912 law. This law was supposed by Milton Cato and his opposition. Was supposed, I believe that is what, yes. It was intended, it was intention of the governor to veto the new bill to maintain the status quo. In the meanwhile, Cato and the other Shaker Baptist case, he was doing it pro bono. That was being heard in the Mesopotamia or Mesopo Magistrate Court. Opposition leader Milton Cato presented an argument in that case which pointed out the basis. Let me read that. Opposition leader Milton Cato represented an argument that in that case, which pointed out the bias, other flaws, and the unconstitutionality of the 1912 law. As a result, the case against the spiritual Baptists were dismissed. The dismissal of the case tied the government hand and forced him to sign the Joshua Bill into law. The signature of the governor put the Chief Minister Joshua Bill into effect, and therefore the 1912 Shaker Prohibition Law was repealed. The Shaker Prohibition Act, which was a law passed by Caucasian imperialists, had two main objects: to oppress the black masses, to hamper Shaker in civilization to worship God as how they do. As a result of the combination or combined effort of Chief Minister E.T. Joshua and opposition leader Milton Cato, the Shaker Prohibition Law that prevented spiritual Baptists Caribbean wide from worshiping God based on their conscience and as they saw fit, was lifted. Thanks to Chief Minister E.T. Joshua and opposition leader Pierre Campbell, opposition leader Milton Cato, the spiritual Baptist has been able to worship their God as their conscience afforded them since 1966. I was told by someone that it actually was 1965, and the rest is history. But between 65 and 66, the spiritual or the Shaker Baptists were allowed to worship the way they see fit, repealing the 1912 ordinances that prohibited them from worshiping their God. So I think we need, as they say, certain thing in context, that the spiritual Baptists were always free to worship. Somebody pointed to me that the Rastas was the one who were given a lot of problem also. And most of the time, when they went into prison before, I don't know if it's the law, but when Pierre Campbell was the Attorney General, he suggested or recommended that the hair of the Rastas should remain as is unless it's for some medical reason. And I remember during the consultation process with the Constitution, when the Nyabingi order or somebody from the Nyabingi order came and make the presentation, they advanced that argument that whether or not it's law or were just a privilege afforded to them by the then Attorney General. And one of the statements he made, which I could remember vividly, is that when a Christian go into prison, he come back out as a Christian. A Muslim go into prison, he come back out as a Muslim. And he turned to Dr. Gonsalves and said, "You are Catholic, and when you go in, if a Catholic go into prison, he come back out a Catholic. But when a Rastaman go into prison, he come back out a bald head." And everybody laughed, but he made his point that one of the symbol of the Rastafari movement is the locks, and they ought to be respected. I think that was the point he was trying to advance, that the Rasta should have the right to worship, to maintain their nati, even if they are convicted of a crime. The issue of crime and criminality, you heard some clips that were played, and Dr. Gonzalez and his own statement, and then he indicated that he never said that, but you're lucky we had it. And then he suggested now, which we suggested years, that you need every hands on deck to deal with crime and criminality in the Basin and the Grenadines. And no person or voices should be ignored, because after all is said and done, the police cannot do the work on their own, and they rely on us to give them the necessary information and to cooperate with them in bringing the criminal to justice. The issue I have with Dr. Gonzalez's presentation is that I haven't heard in that presentation any preventative method or measures to deal with crime. What I heard about enforcement and penalties, and that is a problem, because after an individual would have acquired a gun and killed, most of the time the conviction rate is not 100%. So that person may be out there. A lot of murderers are out in the society or among us. So what we have to do is to deal with preventative measures. And if we can prevent certain things, it's better for all of us and better for the police. But somebody said, no, it may not be. The lawyer may be vexed because the lawyer make a living from crime, and the police may not have any work to do. So here what? I am of the opinion that we can do better as a society. We used to do better. The murder rate basically was very low in the early days. And people never used to wake up morning and hoping to hear something, because in the community, we have persons going to Sunday school. Even though sometimes the parents never used to go to Sunday school, they used to send the children to Sunday school. And I know some people advance an argument that the problem is that they move Sunday school from the afternoon to the morning, and that creates a problem. And that is not the only problem. The problem is that, and sorry to say this, but it's true, the churches look down on people. Most of the churches look down on people in terms of the dress code. Because in the early days, you could have gone down to the gospel hall, church in the afternoon, and you could have, as they say, render your heart and not your garment. That is not the scripture, but that is what they used to tell you. Render your heart and not your garment. So you could have gone anyhow and listen to the word of God and be taught Bible stories and other things. And I think after they change it to the morning and the church get a little more rigid in the dress code, I think that also create some problems. I know when I used to be in Youth for Christ, we used to go into the schools, and what we used to have called inter-school Christian fellowship. Well, secondary school first, and then we moved to the primary school. And I don't know any church in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that ever taught anybody to do anything wrong. I don't know any church like that. So whether or not you have your difficulty with the church and the way they operate, they try to keep you on the straight and narrow path, even though most of them don't practice it, but they will tell you the right thing to do. And they don't practice what they preach, as we say from time to time, but they always tell you the right. So the church always have its role and a function in the society. The family, because even though you're not going to church, you must have a family. So the family used to play its role, the extended family. used to play their role in nurturing the child. The community used to play their role in nurturing the child also. The other entities like the youth groups used to play their roles in nurturing the individuals in the society. I remember a particular time we walk along with youth, NYC, not NYC, with the youth department, and we went into Barley. We had that couple days in Barley with some persons from overseas assisting us and dealing with children who were disruptive and other things like that. And we were able to do a lot of positive things and see changes in those individual lives. I know we used to go into the schools with the DARE program. I don't know if it's still going on, from the police and with the human rights. And we thought about rights and responsibilities and bullying and a number of other things would have been taught around those times. But like, we don't have a lot of the civil society to do those work anymore. And I remember I was told recently that a particular individual or few individuals, they offer the assistance to help out in the schools in particular areas of the skills, and they were rejected. And one the individual told me that because of perception, that is why he believed he was rejected. Perception. And you know, when I say perception, what do you mean? Political perception. And they believe that the school children would have been influenced by that particular individual. I remember also when we had the heritage clubs in the various schools doing a significant work, and along with the students' councils in most of the schools doing significant work. Some of the principals, and I say some of the principals, had fundamental problems with the students' councils in the school because they were fighting, and I say fighting, they stood up for the injustice that were done and some other things that were happening in the school by some of the principals, and the principals and them didn't love it at all. And some of them basically disbanded the students' councils in the school. And I remember we had to send a letter to Minister Borgin and Minister Brown and get their permission to enter into the schools to re-establish the students' councils. And they gracefully did. We had some resistance from some of the principals, some of the rigid principals still, but we were able to go back into the school. And I tell you, the first thing we did, we wrote a proposal and got some monies to deal with drug abuse in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We printed t-shirt, we have a lot of students and other persons speaking about the negative of smoking and the impact it could have and the cancerous thing and a number of other things. And that went on for about 2-3 years. I can't remember exactly who sponsored that, but that were one of the positive, among others, thing by re-establishing the students' councils in the schools. I don't know if it have students' councils still and how effective they are. I don't know if we have heritage clubs still, how effective they are. I know for a fact that the human right doesn't go into the school again. And I tell you this too, one other thing, and I'm going to close now. When we were in Youth for Christ also, we used to have quiz competition, Bible quiz competition. And I think in years ago, I think the Joel, which is his name? Joel Jack, no, not Richard, Joel Jack, used to continue it after the Youth for Christ were not functioning anymore. And we used to have that going into the schools, and we have Bible quiz, and you get trophy and other things during that time. And person were interesting every year to have Youth for Christ come around and have that Bible quiz. So I'm saying the long and short is that when you have more functioning organization and groups that were helping to channel the energies of our youth, we had less crime. And if you want to contradict that, you can do that. But it had less crime, less criminality. People were more focused. So who to blame? Let me just read this, and then I open the line. Good evening, gentlemen. The next time this program we to the airway, it will be 6 months or less for the election in the country. Something I will like all Vincentian to remember. Bigger Bigs and Marcus businesses. All of the lawsuit against Nice Radio and others. The champion of the NDP motion of no confidence. It was $1 thing, but the $1 tax on the people of the Grenadines. The passing of Glenn Jackson and cronyism. I'm sorry, Cookshan. I think it's Cookshan. The harassment of the protesters. The arrest and home searches of opposition supporters. The showing of the middle finger to the voters. The Michelle Andrews and Yogi Farrell. The illegal drugs found in the barrel in one of our clinics. A locking up of our playing field, well, yeah, that is another issue. Yeah, the locking up of our playing fields. The treatment of the people in Cannabon with getting access to the beach. The treatment of the opposition member in the House of Parliament where they were kicked down the stairs. The shooting of Mr. John, Cornelius John Dies. The COVID-19 vaccine to those teachers and public servants. And Dr. Murray for speaking out on the deplorable condition of the hospital. The return of the St. Lucian guy whose case was before the court. The changing of the law which may prevent case from going before, I think you're talking about the FIAT, the Criminal Procedure Code. The opening of the airport to fly out party member child while other taxpayers' children died in the hospital. The poor response to house fire that caused many to lose their homes. The poor planning of our new port and poor management at our airport. And the government offices where air condition and washroom are not operational, and some of the kitchens too, and the phone. The abandonment of and deplorable condition of the police stations and schools. Let me read this other last one for you, and you can come back in. If I'm in the voting room and I think I spoil my ballot, you can request a new ballot once you're in the polling station and you think that even if you spoil it and you decide that you wanted to vote for you and you voted for me, you can you can ask for another ballot, and yes, I requested. See, compelled to give you another ballot. Boy, I'd say one coming for a few seconds, but let me take this. Let me take these calls now. They were waiting for a while on us. A pleasant good night.
Yeah, good night, Father
Good
Abraham.
night,
You know,
boss.
it's something I don't hear nobody talk about this lady we used to call Miss Falby. Miss Falby used to be an inspector lady.
Mm-hmm.
She, Miss Peters, well, Janita was young at the time. She used to go around and pick up all these little boys on the street and carry them in the station.
Okay.
And evening, like, and give them like something to eat.
Okay.
Talk to them, like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
try to embrace them to do the good things.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
But I don't hear nobody talk about Miss Farley. I think they used to trouble she in the days gone by, so she had one breast, you know?
Okay.
I don't know about that, but I think that is how. But she was a very nice inspector woman, you know?
I walk along with Lois too. I think that is her name. Janita Lois. Yeah, I walk along with her
No,
too.
Janita Lois come up under these people.
Okay. Yeah,
Miss
she used.
Farley and Miss Peters.
Okay, she used to do a good job too.
Yeah, okay. But Miss Farley, I don't hear nobody. Miss Farley was a very nice inspector
I don't know
woman.
her
She used to go around.
Okay.
And pick up all the little kids around there. I thought she had, that's what I could tell you.
Okay, good.
Okay then.
Thank you.
What I do know is that
All right.
she alone used to control
Mm-hmm.
the street.
Okay. No, I don't know.
Very much.
I don't know about her.
Any just like how they have a truant officer, she was the first truant officer you could say in this country.
Okay, let me take this other call. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Brother Abraham.
Good night. Good.
Good night.
So I'm going to make a little quick recommendation. I'm going to stay long tonight. This program is maybe one of the most educational on Nice Radio. And you've been around for a long and for you. And I mean, you read a lot. But we are going to stay in this position for a very long time. I'm not negative. I know what is happening in Venezuela, Nicaragua, because it's similar. But you have to understand that we're not going to be able to make a dent unless we get rid of the current dictatorship under Ralph Gonsalves. You would say, well, I hear you criticizing Friday, but I want to say to you, I was coming up today, and I will call the name of the guy. Pastor Bascom's son is a wonderful guy, and he is part of the machinery for the NDP. And he is very disappointed in what is happening underground in Western George. To cut a long story short, the majority of people in this country want change. And you underground, am I right?
Boy, on the ground more than me.
Well, the thing is that, Abraham, you have to understand that why is it that you would want to change? This individual and Poya, we've been supporting ULP. Why is it that we don't support them anymore? Why is it that you have moved from, how much seats it used to be?
From three, yes.
Three for the opposition.
Yes.
And 12. I mean, this is call me a labor man. I mean, I say Margaret London the other day. I say, Margaret, she said, no, don't say you'll be, in the belly, but you'll be in the womb. When I was in the womb of my mother, labor, I know labor people. I know what my mother, why she didn't want to be part of allowing Ralph Gonsalves to come into the party. She didn't, when we were being like, no, we don't want Ralph because Ralph is communist. And Mr. Gonsalves and Arthur Williams and Randolph Russell, a good thing in literally indoctrinating them, going by the homes and say, oh no, we got to get Ralph a chance. They got it right in terms of how do you win an election. You win an election by basically doing what Glenn Jackson and Ralph Gonsalves did, and by literally sweetening up with the Labour Party people to say you love them, and then when you get in now you treat them like dogs. Poya would know what happened to a lot of us. You know them, what that come to, my name is Mr. Cruikshank. He used to come here, Edgar Cruikshank, that is Labour. And when he came here to my house, he come here, we go put gas in my car. Abraham, if you see the gas tank fly up on the other side, we go and put the camera there. What did Gonsalves do? Basically, the only challenge, the main challenge he had was Starkey John. And what he did, lied about stuff, actually trying to derail the party and people back end of it. And then to go from there, you had Vincent Beach and all the others. Jesus Lord, you would have thought that Straker, my family, Golden Miguel Walters, all of them literally live like kings and queens. And they just abandon us. But this matter of
crime again has nothing to do with going back to what you. The reality, Abraham, you must understand that we are seeing crime within the very police force themselves. How could we ever allow a country to go forward and then shut it down when a lady, we have mothers, could be dragged by the hair? I mean, what are you going to take a come out here to be what disrespectful? It hurted me because I would not have been around if they do it to my wife with any very police force. And that man who been doing it is the same man who literally been doing it, blocking two ladies from going pee, putting me in a cell, putting her in a allowed to get away. And then look what you do to a lady. What did she do? Abraham, what did the lady do? Pulled by the hair, pushed in a cell, manhandled by men who supposed to respect her, even if she was a criminal. But look about all the other things that they have done to our people. But the one I want to say quickly, and I'm going to end up with this one because I want to say you're going to hear me a little bit once I keep, and I thank you for, I could get in on Boom because thank God you were the one who told me Boom, and that is where I am, and there's where I'm going to. But hoping now to go to some of the other regional radio stations to tell people the horror stories of what has happened, not just in St. Vincent, but just a few days ago. Of America, and you know what is the Senate? Two house. You have the House, and then you have the Senate. And coming out in that Senate, my brother Poyer. For the first time, I feel vindicated, although I didn't have to wait for Dr. McCullough to tell us that even from the mice information they got, 60% of the mice, the ovaries for the mice are damaged. And think about what is happening to our young people who are now jumping up to say Carnival and jumping up to say ULP for 6 at 7. How much? How could we allow this thing to happen to us? That Mr. Gonsalve should be questioned, just like in the Senate. Sir, did you take 5 shots? Because if it's 5 shots, it means then that you were deceiving us. Which doctor could have given you the authority to take a vaccine? Sputnik V when it was not even authorized, and knowing very early we had evidence. This is what makes a vaccine. Whether they go forward with it or not, they had nothing to do with now what we are finding. Devastation to the nervous system. Devastation to the women in the ministry bleeding. And we sit down and we talk about crime. It's the biggest crime ever. Ralph Gonsalve must go. It's very difficult to get him out. Not much is not done. Let me ask Poyer one last question. One quick question. Poyer, what you could tell me, what you have ever heard that you have and are you telling you citizen investment? It doesn't work that way. Yeah, investment program. What is the union? A political party? A government determines whether it's in government, whether they want a policy. The only how you're going to have citizen investment program is if government. But under Ralph Gonsalve, he said he ain't going to do it because he don't want to empower us. He wants us to say brokes so we could beg him. And so when the unions were supposed to be talking about the devastation to the workers who are dying from a vaccine, if you see evidence coming out to add to all what we know that the vaccine didn't work, it was killing people, what are we talking about? Where's Dr. Friday? Where's the opposition to say, God, have mercy on our young people? They're not going to live long. Why? Because he himself warned him, Dr. Friday, don't put a camera in your hand. Mr. Leacock, don't continue with the ignorance to say you took it, you and Dougie. This vaccine didn't do any safety trial, and people are dying. Let me tell you something, I want to go to court. Don't put no public court in court, because I'm saying I'm not going to stop until all of these medical people who are responsible for defending that mandate of vaccine, mandated by taking away all salaries. Could you imagine that? All your hard work. Why? Because they know that it wasn't safe, and they know that people didn't trust it, but they put it there so they could make money. And they're telling me that they're not really, and they're still in power. I gone, man. Love you very much.
All right, thank you. Pleasant good night.
Hey,
Good night, good night, good night.
Yes, boy. I hear, I only could hear, you know, I hear the most cleaning up you're seeing right now. Most road work going on. Man with cutlass like joke. I don't know how true it is. You guys are wrong on the ground and so on. But here have a cutlass work doing. I don't know who getting those jobs, if it's the elderly or the young men and women. Some of them who can get regular employment and all of that. But not only that, is the most projects you could hear about, and that's taking place right now. Isn't this a sign? Is it a good sign or a bad sign? I mean, how are people taking in all these things and so on? By the way, let me say good night to some of our people who seem to be very not willing to come forward and speak on these programs like they used to. Hello to Mr. Lewis, Alwyn Lewis. I don't know if you get time to listen to the program because the hours are different really, but somebody might pass on the message. I want to say good night to you. I think you are a good and faithful servant with what you did for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we must big up certain people who just had to give up because they just couldn't take it, or they didn't have the resilience, or what do you call it, stamina. And when you listen to some of us who speaking, you really want to know how informed, how educated, how sensible, how conscious some of us are in this country. Hi, Sonia. I hear you for a long time, girl. Yeah, so without even getting that feeling or impression, it is time for a change. Now I can say that loud and clear, right? It is time for a change. I remember when the NDP was there and they do all things. Well, the comrade leader was successful with who he had in his band, or who he had as his followers. You hear songs like follow the leader, 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 follow the leader. And songs like I want to rule my destiny. 25 years is plenty time for any prime minister, any leader, especially we were never accustomed to this. And when you look at it, it's Milton Cato as the first prime minister, Mitchell as the second prime minister. And Alim got a little taste of it, but, I don't know if nothing really to talk about, although he made his presence felt by telling the people what was going on. But then again, I know a lot of people vexed too. Were vexed when Mitchell said what? If all you put Gonzalez in, I can't remember his exact words. All you catch all the whatever to get him out. Well, his words turned out to be true. But then, what I can't overstand is how this prime minister, I don't know if it's because, as Mitchell had said one time, the Portuguese, and he called him Portuguese by the name of Gonzalez, who brought slavery to the Caribbean first. How much people remember that? I never hear the comrade leader sue him or alive, never bring anything in the court against him. But don't forget, Mitchell told us about the history of some guy, Gonzalez. Well, to be honest, I didn't know about that one. Was the first man to bring slavery to the Caribbean. And hence, maybe that's the legacy that is being carried on. But clearly, being around the comrade leader, and you see me, I don't talk loosely. I was never that type of person. I'm listening to some people talking now. You know, they now come to the senses. I was never talking loosely, although the Prime Minister, Comrade Ralph E. Gonzalez, and I, you know, had a good relationship. Now I don't hear from him. I don't know what he thinks about me now. Maybe I am nobody. And then I could talk so much because they take it. Yeah, some, I don't know what I call those kind of followers or those who believe in the Prime Minister. They make a big thing because the Prime Minister came to see me in the hospital. Well, I didn't know that was such a big thing. I didn't know I was, but maybe I was honored to have him as Prime Minister come to the hospital twice to see me. Okay, but I saw the Prime Minister as bigger than all these kind of talk and all these kind of things that, you know, they try to use as, you know, against me, as, you know, because I am ungrateful. Am I ungrateful for what? Because the Prime Minister come and see me and I speak critically of him? Huh? And what has hurt me, well, what has hurt me is these people talking, you know, these people talking as though the Prime Minister can't talk. Huh? They're talking, they're trying to defend the Prime Minister or what? The Prime Minister only laughing at them, in my opinion. So all what is going on, that's the price we've got to pay. I mean, I want to check his record. You know, we saw what happened to Margaret. Well, Margaret Parsons, I don't know what's happening with her in Canada, but we saw what happened to our own local female police who suffered to her death, all because of Vincentians treating her like an outcast. Think about that. Then he attacked the bishop. Bishop, what's his name? The Roman Catholic bishop. I remember when Rivas was here, he used to say, my bishop. I don't know who is his bishop now. I know him say, my bishop. You know? So I just mentioned those things because the Prime Minister has been able to get away with a lot of things. Huh? And who challenged him? Who challenged him? And up to now, I still don't hear the kind of people with all whatever status they have and so on. Well, I guess they have this status because they support the Prime Minister.
All right, thank you. Yes, Dave Roberts himself. If I could fool God, I will tell him my country is making real progress. If I could fool God, I will say Simbason is above the rest. If I could fool God, I will say the country is not in a mess. If I could fool God, I will say that Gonsalves is the best. If I could fool God, I will say that everything is going as it should. If I could fool God, I will say that the government is good. Fadibam, do you think that one of the reasons for the change in the afternoon Sunday school class was because the afternoon attendance level was dropping while more children were sitting in church in the morning? No, I don't think so. But if I don't think that was the reason. I think after the way they call them, the West Side churches and them that they refer to them as. I think after the West Side churches and they were getting more popular than the traditional churches. When I say the West Side, like the Pentecostal and the Evangelical and the New Testament, after they were getting more popular than the traditional churches. So that is the reason why. Let me just answer this question for you and they will come in. Then I think it's a question in relation to spoil ballot, and I'm reading section 37 of the RPA, the House of Assembly election rule. A voter who has inadvertently dealt with his ballot paper in such a manner that it cannot be conveniently used as a ballot paper may, on delivering it to the presiding officer and providing to his satisfaction, his or her satisfaction, the fact of the inadvertency, obtain another ballot in the place of the ballot paper so delivered. In these rules referred to as a spoil ballot, and the spoil ballot shall immediately cancelled. Sepoya? Yes.
Yeah, that is exactly how it is on the polling day.
I'm reading from the last, they had to be like that. If
Yeah.
they end with that, they need to stone them.
But now you mentioned about that, I got a clip with a situation in I think it's Carriacou in Grenada, whereby the representative have issue along the line of hanky panky by the returning officer for in registering people.
Hold up your point, please. President, good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
I've been, trying radio, but I compelled tonight, even though I'm quite prepared for all, I had something to prepare. My computer gave me all problems there. Because I had something. Let's start tonight. Earlier in the week, something was sent out about Caribbean, Global Awards. With some names. I am simply amazed. You know, a fellow named Thomas Sowell about these are the anointed. So you go down that list there and tell me what any one of them has done to benefit any of these islands economically. Let me put it this way: to give to their own money to create a job for anybody, any of them. But you have them there about Caribbean Global Award. For what? For producing words? Because that produce words. A bunch of word spits. And people and kings. This is, they got nothing better to do? Nothing better to do? No. One of the things I'm going to get to one, just, we carrying on about, what the holiday name last week?
Spiritual Baptist, we call it again?
Baptist. Now, I wonder how many persons have any idea? When did these people become known as Baptists? When? What were they before called?
Shaker, shouters.
Oh, and converted, right?
Yeah, converted, yes.
Yeah. But you see, people want to come and make out now and take credit for all kind of stuff. You know? Taking credit for all kind of stuff. But let me give people a history of religion. Remember, I'm saying not God, religion. In England, way back when, as a matter of fact, the whole world was ruled by the Catholic Church. But guess what? A king in England wanted to marry somebody else, and the Catholic Church did not allow divorce. So England broke away from the Catholic Church and called themselves the Anglican Church.
Church of England.
The Church of England. Now, what people don't understand with that is that the Church of England meant what? That church. Anybody else, any other religion was simply not just, you were prosecuted. You were prosecuted, called heretics and all kind of things. So they coming on like this thing is something new. No, folks, you know, it is because of religion. It is religion that forced a whole bunch of people to cross the Atlantic Ocean. You know what they were called, folks? The Pilgrims. They were known as Quakers. And a matter of fact, one of them famous one, his name was, I think, William Pitt.
Yes.
He was the man there fighting for what? The abolition of slavery. So they went across to America to get away from persecution, religious persecution. And that is why I should have made some notes. You have in America, you don't have an official church. But guess what? Because right what I remember telling them, freedom of religion is one of the amendments. Freedom to worship how you saw fit. That is because of what they left.
Thomas Jefferson.
Yes. That is what they left in England. That is, so you have no official church in America. But guess what? You have people in America now using that and some stupidness about separation of church and state. And they interpreted that to mean separation of church and God. The fellas believe in God. And they give you the right to support, to praise your God how you want
but
it.
the thing is, it was not to make any law to prohibit.
You had to worship how you
regulate,
want.
Correct.
That's right. But God dropped. How you have a country? You got a country. How these people are so dumb? Some of them that separate God and religion is not God. You have in God we trust on the money, but you can't talk about God in school. You at one time you can't put up the 10 Commandments. You can't have a Christmas in certain places. And this is all this stuff is all recent here. So that same attitude, you see, the people don't know. By the way, let me say this too. You see all those people in South Africa from the Danes and the Dutch and them? You know, it's the same religious nonsense that forced them to go to South Africa. People don't know that. It was getting away from religious persecution why they and the African or whoever they call them ended up down there 200 and something years ago. Religious persecution. So the same thing that these English people wanted in England, I think I'm going too fast. There is Northern Ireland and the Irish. I wonder if anybody knows why is that. Because one of them refused. It's about Catholicism. So they've been fighting war. Well, they just stopped. It was all about and thing that they were doing there. They came down to the Caribbean, and Dave just mentioned something there. The first person. Let me say something before I say that. Listen, folks. Slavery was started long time before the white people went there. The Arabs, the Muslims were going in the middle of Africa, countries nearby to them, and buy slaves. But something interesting happened about those. You know what the Arabs used to do to the male slaves? They used to remove their testicles so they babies. You can't find no black babies in them Arab countries because they remove the testicles of the male. But people don't know that. So it was these people that these Europeans saw doing this stuff, why they then decided, let me try we handle this thing. And the first man, Dave is correct, the first man to bring a slave from Africa to the West was a Portuguese named Gonçalves. That's a fact. That's an absolute fact. But you see, the funny thing about it, so you had the Portuguese in the slave thing. You have the Spanish in the slave thing. You have the French in the slave thing. But all of a sudden, apparently the only people who were in the slave thing were the English. Isn't that what we're hearing now? It was only the English. And the only people we want reparations from are the English. The thing is, though, I have a document here. Then I have the time to get it. A few years ago, there's a Nigerian group who is saying that people ought to be seeking reparations from African countries as well if they want reparation. Because, listen, and capture people hold them. People. So now, let's come to the British, Caribbean, and already been and imposing the same thing about only cattle. Well, Anglicanism should be the religion. That's it. And it was not, folks, unique to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So when somebody in St. trying to pander and Papi Show, a man who went to Africa to study black people, you already know that there. That's what he did his thesis in. You know. Come now and Papi Show in all you and talk about he declaring whatever it is. You know? To Papi Show people. To wink them. What was happening in St. Vincent with the Shakers and the converted was any way, shape, or form to St. Vincent. It was not. But somebody now coming out and that he is doing something to recognize the Baptists. But I want to tell all you something. The Baptists, let me tell you all something. One of the first religions that came here after the Anglican people and them was a church around Park. Namely, and it's now namely Evangelical Church of the West Indies. When it came here originally, it was known as the West Indian Mission. I can tell you that they encountered the same kind, maybe worse, of persecution as the converted. A fellow named Live Compton. His father was from Chateaubriand. That guy was teaching at the Methodist school in Chateaubriand. But a whole bunch of Chateaubriand guys, teachers and God, decided they're going to join West Indian Mission. Compton was fired. Yes, folks. So when you hear them come up with the thing now, that's it. After the persecution, well, those people, they get accepted a little bit. The next group to face persecution were the Seventh-day Adventists. The Vincentian newspaper, way back then, where big debate going on about the Adventists and this and that and that. Those established religions in St. Vincent, Methodist, Anglican, Catholic, despised anybody who was not one. They were no good. So why is somebody coming out specifying one group? Yeah, but I know why. I know why. He's playing with their intelligence. That's what he's doing. Learn, folks. Learn. Trinidad, all of them. Same thing. Same kind of treatment. You know. Same. And panda. And carrying on with your foolishness. But, hey, free. You know, and joining him. Like somebody sent a text to me say, then why there are they a holiday for all the other religions in the country then? Want we get a religion for the Adventists? Because I know they suffered even greater persecution than the Church of the West Indies. They did. They were nobodies. Nobodies. They couldn't. You Assembly Adventists, you couldn't get a proper job with the government. Listen to this. You know who was? Let me give you a couple of names who were members of the Evangelical Church of the West Indies: Julian Francis and Bones Bonneday. Only to name them. You see, but they were of a certain stature. You see, they weren't the same breed as the Adventist people. They were not. Now, Abraham. All you know my topic. I am shocked to hear that people in this country are still telling people vaccinated if they want a job. Is that true, fellas? Am I hearing wrong? That you want to be a nurse or what you must get vaccinated? Abraham?
Well, I heard the other day the only still going on.
You see, but we hearing this thing. I think I heard somebody mention it the other morning, and I heard it from other people.
Mm-hmm.
This is totally unbelievable because the crazy thing that they took 6 months, and somebody want to tell you that you must inject that into yourself when they had no idea what was going to happen to your body 9 months, 3 months after you took it. As a matter of fact, a whole bunch of people were dropping dead immediately they took the shot. Immediately they took the shot. And last week, earlier this week, they had the Americans had a serious investigation into the damage by the jabs. As a matter of fact, I remember way up, they did a study. You hear people telling pregnant to go get vaccinated. This is really amazing. No data to support tell pregnant woman to go get or anybody else for that matter. None. We know that the thing, it doesn't stop you from getting it. It doesn't. Well, if it doesn't stop you from getting it, well, what if you don't stop you from passing it on to somebody else? So what was the point of the vaccine? Ralph Gonsalves and Miss CMO and Gerald Thompson. What was the point? How many persons in St. Vincent, young people, just dropped dead? Weeks after. What's Anita Batty's sister-in-law?
Which I can't remember her first name. Mm-hmm.
Her. And we have more. I remember people calling and complaining about women calling about their period, and they come on the radio and say, we cannot do it vaccine. It must be if somebody go tell them to check for cancer.
and now get this on here, my period gets so heavy and all sort of other story. And I heard a policeman got a stroke too, and he's in the hospital now too.
They're just keeping this thing quiet. Okay? Rather than come out there and if all they really want to talk about prosecution and do things for prosecution, all you religious people who join in this thing, you also demand it first, because none of those people, those Baptist people, suffered what Vincentians are suffering now because they refuse to become guinea pigs. Thousands of them starving, and all you're going join with some man who talking about he first he should care for those who suffering now, who are starving, that you should care about. And like I say, like Miss Richards there, I think she had 2 children. Somebody should have been over there taking care of them until the right age. By the way, I got a thing from is the Prime Minister Dominic talking about what they teaching children in school and the heavy. You know, I kept saying, what the hell is this? What's destroying the people and them spinal cord with a whole bunch of stupid books that people tell you they don't read. Some of them, the whole term down, they ain't fit, they ain't touch. And then the next term, or the next year, they change the books again. Yeah? But I like what the man said. Rather than forcing everybody to become a doctor or a lawyer or on that list there, won't we spend our money in crafts? That's what he said. Everybody's not made out for that. I used to teach, I know. Spend your money there. And one of the things, Abraham, just yesterday, I got a document where they're talking in America about getting a degree. When you don't get a degree, guess what? You can't get no work. So guess what? You can't pay off students. And then some fella there decide to give your student. So the rest of the taxpayers whose children didn't go to no university. You should see some of the stupidness they claim they're studying for university course. Where in the world you're going to get a job with that? I heard one fella the other morning saying he has a degree in international affairs. What the? Please? Let me tell you something. If all you want to honor people, yeah, for the contribution to the region, well, I know about St. Vincent. You get C.K. Graves. You get Bonady. You get my partner with the tire shop inside there. And you all could have all your own. Those are the valuable people. Those are the assets to this region. Not Mia Motley, not Ralph Gonsalves, none of them. None of them. What got them there is their mouth. Period. Okay, I've been on long enough. I want to say something. We all make mistakes. 2015. Are you silly cock? I gotta blame you now. I blame you. All right, that's for another time. I want to say something. In 2020, I definitely made a mistake. And guess what, folks? Guess what? I am going to do everything I can to amend. You see all them people who are forced to become guinea pigs? I owe them an apology. I do. Because I help Parliament to stay there, to force them. We're hearing after the fact how much money you get from this and how much money you get from that to go around the country telling people to get vaccine. You sold them out. and now you come in and talk about holiday. You sold them out. They were sold out. Mustique, Charity, whoever they be, all of them were sold out to get a job. That is dangerous. Testimony. This week in the U.S. Congress, 70. You got 325 dead people, right? All of them vaccinated. 74% of them died from the vaccine. Good night, guys.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
Before I go ahead, I'm trying to get this thing. Oh, okay.
In the room. Conclusion, it's Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine myocarditis. Unequivocal. These are autopsy confirmed cases. So
pleasant good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. What a night. What a night. You see, you don't want one night a week, you want 3 nights a week. Yeah? Look at information and history. You know, considering what we have learned tonight, this country should be shaken by nowadays footsteps of angry people. Who will pay for the fight because of this miscreancy? Who will pay for that?
Taxpayers. We already paying taxpayers. You use taxpayers' money to pay for the case in England. Instead you accept that yes, they are earned and try to walk out with the unions and give back people their work. He went to his buddies.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think we have heard the last of this thing. We haven't heard the beginning yet of the response of the people, of those families who have answered that, because not everybody can sit back and when they reflect on the source of the agony, will stay quiet. We have to be careful. Thanks for listening, my friend.
All right, thank you, too. All right. Sorry, let me just feel like a piece of this before you
for
come in.
all the mothers in the room, how would they feel if they found their children dead after taking a COVID-19 vaccine? This is in the peer-reviewed literature. This is not misinformation. Everyone should be paying attention to this. This is not conjecture. This is in the peer-reviewed literature. So we started to ask ourselves, what is going on? Turns out that Pfizer and Moderna and Janssen are the genetic code for the spike protein. The spike protein is the damaging part of the virus. The spike protein is loaded into the body and it causes tremendous damage in some. Acute myocarditis appears to have some genetic predilection, and all of the vials of the vaccine are not the same. But I can tell you, I'm concerned that until the vaccines are stopped.
I think good night.
Good night, Father Abraham.
Good night, good night. Good night. Good night.
Franco, good night. It's a long time I haven't heard you, man. Now, Abraham.
Hey.
Before I leave here and went to Trinidad, and I went to Trinidad in 1971.
Okay.
I know we used to call the Baptists here converted.
Correct.
It's not until I went in Trinidad I heard the word spirit. I don't even think they use the word converted down there now. So I really want to know how this spiritual Baptist name come to St. Vincent. How it came. How it came about.
Like I was given, so I think I read it last week from Cosmos Palmer's Bishop. Let me see, I think he says some guy by the name of Bishop Leon Samuel. After they was having a lot of persecution, they had to change the name many times. It was Christian Pilgrim, Converted, Shaker Baptist, Spiritual Baptist, all sort of name in order to be recognized.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I don't know, because I know for sure when I live here, it was converted, I know them as, right? Not until I went to that I heard the word spiritual Baptist. Now, I see Gonsalve, it has to be a real hypocrite, you know, because Abraham, I don't know if you know that the Roman Catholic Church used to celebrate Corpus Christi. I was Catholic at the time in my youth days. And I know they used to celebrate Corpus Christi, where we used to march from the church, Cathedral Church in town, and you come across down by, well, at least you make a round the town, pass through the courthouse, and then you come back down in town. And they used to celebrate it with the police band and so, right? So why is it that gun service fit? Well, I don't know how it stopped, who stopped it, or whatever the case may be, because I wasn't here. Since I came back, I understand that they don't have it again, but I know they have it in Trinidad still. So how come he ain't reinstate back that holiday? Because I just find it real hypocrite. Because he gave in the Baptist, the spiritual Baptist. The Catholic had that day that they used to celebrate. He reinstated. So what did he say? Is something he trying to do or trying to prove to people? I really can't understand that, because I think this is one thing I think he should really do, because I don't know for most of the country, but Trinidad still celebrate Corpus Christi, and it's a holiday.
Okay.
It's a holiday, and they do the same marching thing in Trinidad too. So I really find it strange, to be honest. So, and well, to be honest, I'm not. Well, right now I'm on the island, right on the main, but I wasn't here for a couple of weeks down in the Grenadines, right? Since this thing with the Baptist thing here with guns ringing bell and beating drums, did you hear any one of these spiritual leaders like Pompey and Jones and these hierarchy people come and criticize guns for doing this thing?
They can't criticize their God. How do you criticize their God?
Because, well, I mean to say, I don't get a chance to listen. Well, not to say I don't get a chance, but down in the Grenadines where I was, something, you're not getting this station up here. So I really can't follow what's really going on up here. What I know, I came up Monday, Tuesday, and up now I hear, well, I listen to the radio now and again, to be honest, and I didn't hear nobody, none of these leaders, chastise guns after doing it. And I just want to know, this Baptist thing now, to me, it just, even know the word what to use, because they're full of themselves, to be honest. And that is why you see people now not really supporting them and following them as they should, because I know Baptist is is a true religion, but the people and those leaders, they just, because they want something from Gonsalves, because I'm hearing now that Gonsalves is promising them to build church for them and
all
them kind of things.
To renovate.
Renovate and all them kind of things. So it's because of this Gonsalves promising them that they allowing Gonsalves to do these things, man. Father God, have mercy upon us. Yes? If there what I can say, have mercy upon us.
All right.
The latest one is that they want to baptize him.
Okay, let me just give you back this information from Archbishop Pompey. Archbishop, the spiritual Baptist faith in Mr. Gandhi were also known by this name. It was called Shaker, Penitent, Converted. I understand the name converted because of the scripture reading, except yet except he be converted and become as a little child, he cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. The word shaker signifies what we call today shout and rejoice. It was also called shouters. There are so many names afterwards. The name was changed because let me just finish this part. The name was changed because the government had wanted a substitute name. Therefore, Bishop Leon Samuel, who before he departed this life, gave the name Christian Pilgrim, which was somewhere around 1951. Pleasant good evening. Hello? Oh, sorry. Pleasant good evening. Okay, so I think I made, yes. So Christian Pilgrim, which was somewhere around 1951. Then they went on until about 1983. Then it was renamed as the Spiritual Baptist. So according to Archbishop Cosmos Pompey, the Spiritual Baptist got the name in 1983. Pleasant good evening. Pleasant good night.
Good night,
Hey,
my
good night,
brothers,
good night.
Spy and Abraham.
Good night, good night.
Now, what is it they say about a politician last refuge? When he start to use religion for political mileage, he's being described as a scoundrel. And what we have right now in St. Vincent is a politician that is pandering to the people that we know as the Spiritual Baptists for political mileage. Now, our people have to get themselves together. And I know if you want to study something in life that could open your eyes about knowing about human, is agriculture. Here in agriculture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines wasn't just from a political, economic standpoint. It was because they know people who know agriculture, whatever scale you do it. In your backyard, it makes you think. You're studying philosophy. You are studying the weather. You are studying animals and their behavior. Just like if we are being described, if we are to use a plan to describe the Vincentian people and our struggle, we are like vines. We've been running ever since. Sometimes we run against the wind. Sometimes we run against we run towards the sun. But if it's one thing with our people, we was always a moving people. Our struggle was ever moving. Now, our people have to know, just put a vine in a house, it will run towards the sunlight. You watch an animal and their behavior would give them away, would tell you the attitude. So when I listen to people today, everybody playing catch up in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I want to know how come from our history lesson, we never know we would have reached this place. I know we would have get here. I've been warning my brothers and sisters about this ULP government in that same basement, by Samtec basement, by the Vinci restaurant. I tell them it would happen because I know agriculture. I study plants and animals. I know the behavior. And our people is in this position here because we failed to take the lesson from our past. We failed to pay attention. Come on, Vincentian. You don't know this when they get here? You kill agriculture because they don't want to be a thinking people. A people who don't think is a people who can be abused. You're going right back into economic slavery. The vaccine, all those kind of things. There's 5 years lifespan they give to that vaccine start to erupt in your body. Now, I guess they wanted to bring another vaccine to prevent what is going to happen. Because they know people is going to die off just like flies. Those people who take in the vaccine. Right now on my job, I'm watching brothers. I don't even, the time they make one cough, I gone. One cough, I gone. Sometimes I in the office and they come to talk to me. And the minute they cough, I suggest you need to go. You need to go to the office. Because I don't want you to cough around me. Yes, I did not take the vaccine. But I don't know. My immune system, as I go older, it will get weaker. But I don't want you to cough around me. Vincentian, what this ULP government did to you with that vaccine mandate, that's wickedness. You did not have the information, and the studies was not there to support you creating a mandate in St. Vincent to force my brothers and sisters to put nothing into the system. You break the Constitution. You trample on the Vincentian constitutional right. And the Vincentian people have one recourse right now, and it's to get the ULP government out of office. There is no other advice I can give to you. You have destroyed the economics in St. Vincent. You have put you on poor relief. Now everybody genuflecting the in front, Mr. Gonsalves. Who now genuflect, they behind him. I don't know what you're doing, you know. You kissing boots, kissing all kind of thing, licking boots, all kind. Vincentian, wake up, man. To our Caribbean neighbors, we look like fools. We still not afraid, Vincentian. We're not afraid nobody. But I'll tell all you lie. Because look at what this man has done in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He has put all his family members to control the financial institution in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They have controlled the conduits of the money coming, donor agency money coming into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He is the minister of national security. Crime is out of control. His son is the finance minister after taking it over from him for years. Come on, Vincentian. Come on, Vincentian. Come on, Vincentian. We got to get up as a people. We cannot allow this thing to go on any longer. Okay, so my brothers Abraham and Mr. Paya, my brother, keep doing what you're doing, man. We got to change this thing because we're going in the wrong direction. We got to turn some pages. Good night, my brothers.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
Yeah, boy.
Now, Frank came in about the thing that I was going to mention with the vaccine mandates in America that have been reversed. Seriously about
Let me just take this
children
call.
and
Just hold on, right, please. Pleasant good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night, good night.
Yes, I call you from Sandy Bay.
Yes.
Pampy. Pampy in Overland.
Yeah.
He is not a qualified bishop, you know.
We ain't getting into the party.
We don't know who ordained him or what, so we can't say. Hello?
Yeah, so yeah, boy. Yeah.
But when I saw the thing on CNN, it jolted me. And it brought me right back to the whole situation with the case with the teachers and the public servant that's right now lies in the Privy Council. And I said, what an implication that holds for this little country. Who gonna pay the price of when that result come back? Because from what I'm observing and what I'm hearing and seeing, I am of the opinion that the law till England gonna overturn that following from the two judges that made the decision until I thought the government had the authority to do it. From all angles, the aspect of your rights, your constitutional rights, one, and your God-given rights override any other rights. So, what? And then to make it matters worse, there was no pandemic. Because you analyze what a pandemic means, the world was never in a pandemic. And you see the sort of wickedness that is put on the wall by America. Because Pussy was given a pardon before the president left office. And it brings me back to realize how man, in a sense, is so wicked, vile, and corrupt. That you're pardoning somebody that killed thousands of persons. But then you're going to Africa and you want to lock up the president who you make corrupt for crime against humanities. Why haven't anybody in Europe and America been charged for crime against humanity for all these things that they have done? Why? And why our Caribbean leaders are not talking about it?
I don't know if you listened some time ago when I think is the main prosecutor at the ICC sent out a warrant for the Prime Minister of Israel. He indicated that he was told that how he could do something like that. The court was made for Africans and nobody else. I can't remember his name, but he one of the so it was the court war for the African people.
You remember nobody civil.
Yeah, the court was for the Africa. He said he was told that. I will look for this to find the thing actually, but he said he was told that. So that is why you never find that happening.
So the whole intention is to eliminate the black race, keep us in poverty and Vincent, are we hearing? Are we listening and hearing? Yeah, and that is why at the beginning I said we need to read. We need to read. We have the technology, utilize it. Instead of just entertainment, use it to gain knowledge. And let us come together to work as a nation and force these people who are our servants. They are not our masters. Force them to do what is right for us and this country.
Okay, let me take this last call. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night.
Hello.
Hey.
Man.
Good night.
Yeah. Boy, huh?
Yes, my sister, I was looking for you for the longest while.
Yeah, for the longest was me last, no?
Well, it seems so.
No.
Yeah.
No, sometimes the man, you the feel and the grass ain't growing. What you gonna do? Some man, you it? That's true?
I expected you. Especially with this Baptist thing, because you was wrong.
With the Baptist?
Yes, you was wrong too long in
and
tongue.
your whole family was Baptist, boy. I know you didn't be a pointer. Huh? Your whole mother, auntie, everybody.
I asked you much question and they couldn't give me answers.
Well, the most I could say now, the Prime Minister was dancing with the peasants. You see him among the peasants?
Yes.
He was dancing with the peasants.
Yes.
And if you take, look at that 40 years from now, you can ask, which plantation was that? Because we have the setting. The setting is right there. The massa?
Yeah.
Yeah, among the peasants, the slaves. And for you, all the family in the market of Baptist man, you didn't see them? Huh?
Well, they say they are.
Load of them for you.
They
Where the vision?
They say that how they went to celebrate the things I said that our relatives who've gone on are grieving in the grave because they would have never gone and follow blindly.
Yes, man, and they were beautifully dressed in the white. If you see them, the whole market. So they're supposed to be able to see vision and what's not. And what happening to them, fire.
But the man said that when they eat and they're very full and go and lay down.
Oh yes, wrong to try them.
Wrong to try them.
Oh God, that must be enough.
That with such an insult, and you still come and accepting from him, and you don't understand that all he's doing this is about a political ploy.
No,
he had no interest. He had no interest. It is not from genuineness. You could see the mimic, the mimic of him.
Now, remember, don't forget the PM said from all the country people say so now. All the seats, the country seats. You know that man, he is correct. He is correct. Now, Abraham.
Hey.
Sometimes you just sound like an old man, and sometimes you're middle, you're young. I don't know. I hear saying here, no, it's Paul.
Nah, I can't remember her.
Yeah.
Nah, I can't remember her. Nah. If I see a picture, maybe.
She control Kingston.
Okay.
No, you
the
could have been on
population
the
of
road.
Trinidad is in the millions, right?
Yeah.
And how is it when Trinidad have election? You don't hear them thing like a little 100,000 people in an island have so much discrepancies during election. What is the reason for that?
Well, it last election campaign in Trinidad and Tobago, I think Foster Cummins, he suggested something that got everybody upset because he indicated that they were handing out for a particular constituency the election for Poya. And then after, to get Poya while up, and after they just drop all the rest on them from their constituency and they drop the part. So he basically was saying that the ECC or the Election Commission in Trinidad were corrupt.
Oh,
Yeah, yes.
okay. Yes, because you know what stuck out, Abraham? The Central Leeward with games.
Yeah.
With this ballot that was the ballot them that was rammed in the box.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, it had me going back and say, I believe Hall won, but you never know. You remember Hall?
Yes. Okay,
because this young man now, Mr. Huggins, have to be careful because his Central Leeward Layu is a problem. Because when they're having registration, I remember the Miss James had to leave her office and go down and settle a simple registration, because they had some confusion.
Yes.
Because in Central Leeward they have some thugs, some ULP thugs, and them they rule Central EU. So he has to be careful. He has to have proper agents and proper people working, especially in Layu. Okay? Because I can understand 300 or something ballots. And Game says, he ended up saying, well, good for the goose, good for the gander. He could have disqualified them, he did not. And then come the next election now, a newcomer came and he went by 500.
Our key document put tonight, but they didn't go through it.
Yes, you have to bring that up. So, Huggins is his ideas. Yeah, he know what he wants. He know what is needed in the constituency. But that is not all, because it's the poll. He has to look at the polling division, especially Layu, and set his officers there. And there's something on election day. It's very intimidating, especially some between the parties, the way they behave, the ULP
returning
officers behave.
Yeah, the returning officers.
Yeah, it's very intimidating. And this thing, what you said, is supposed to empty the box, and even when you're going to count to, make sure the box empty before it starts. And when you're counting, make sure when you say one for ULP, you see ULP. You see it, don't make it say it.
And all persons should remain there and don't leave.
And don't leave.
Don't leave.
You're supposed to be in the counting.
Yeah, well, the thing is that they could invite other persons from outside to witness the counting. They don't have to, but they can.
Yeah, but why you gonna absent yourself? You're supposed to be there to know it goes.
No, the agents inside. I'm not talking about the agents. I'm talking about the presiding officer could invite other persons from outside to, but some does that, some doesn't.
Okay.
No, some agents in some army will left even for the counting.
Yeah, I know that. Even for
they're not supposed to leave. They're supposed to be there.
Even for the opening of the polling station, when I was the deputy monitor, I know in particular in the Leeward station, our representative was locked out.
Oh, locked out. One is locked out at Glen too.
Yeah, yes.
In an election, and what the guy do, he take a distance and he just break down the door. He say he's supposed to be here.
Yeah,
yes, he's a no-nonsense person.
Yeah, because they took an oath, I know, normally, so therefore they have
so you have to look at the behavior of these people, right? And get this thing in order. You don't have to use back the same people at the polling station. You have to be very observant.
I saw we're out of time, so we'll continue next week. So, yes, I will play the tape next week with the United States thing for you. Yeah, about a second.
Well, it's the weekend again, and hope people enjoy the weekend. With June gonna start soon, and the hurricane season, so be prepared. Put aside a little salt biscuit and them sort of things, sardine, if it is sardine, corned beef, or what, codfish, and what. Make sure also have a first aid kit. Until.
All right, next week, we have a wonderful evening.
Website